Otherwise, we would just hear the yappa.
We're on.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Carry on.
welcome to healthierlife.tv with myself, Warren Connolly, and the esteemed gentleman on that side.
Yeah.
I never get it right. I never get it right.
Paul Bursey.
Yeah.
Paul Bursey. So anyway, welcome to healthierlife.tv. And I was sitting here in my place here with the door open. It was freezing. I had to have a hoodie on. So
you couldn't figure out why it was getting cold.
Yeah, so now I'm back in a t-shirt, as you can see, and shut the door. So anyway, welcome to the people on Facebook Live. Welcome to YouTube, and welcome to our podcast people as well. So yes, today's headline is I have to read it because I never remember these. What is the science of sleep? Now we have done sleep before, but we, as I say, I find it a fascinating subject. So I don't know about you, Warren.
Yeah, definitely. You know I do. But for the sake of the viewers, yes, I do.
Okay, so sleep accounts for about a quarter to a third of our life, our human lifespan. So yes, it is definitely an important subject. Mm-hmm. But what happens when you sleep? Okay, we're going to come to that. Just very quickly before I hand it over to Warren. In the 1950s, most people believed sleep was a passive activity, would you believe? And during which the body and the brain were dormant. That's what they believed. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that sleep is much more than that. Now, the brain is very active, engaged in many different activities, which obviously we'll go into and whatever. And it's necessary for good health and life. So very, very important. Science is always ongoing, like everything else, like nutrition.
Yeah.
It's always ongoing on how it affects mental health and physical health, which we know it does. And the last thing before I hand it over to Warren is all sleep is not the same. It's not equal. There's all different parts of sleep. So, Warren, what's your opening thoughts?
I didn't have opening thought per se relating to the subject of sleep or the science of sleep. However, I think as we become older and older, and as we move from our 40s into our 50s and to your age, Paul, and beyond, it is so important just to understand the basics of sleep and why sleep is so important. As you said, in the 50s, people used to think that sleep was just what was the word you used? I can't think of it now. See, I need more sleep as well myself. But you said it was just like a stationary thing. It was a dormant activity. Our body would just rest, and that was it. And much like that, people used to think that we didn't need that much sleep. People thought that sleep wasn't that important either. It was just something that lazy people did, and you have these comments like, you get to sleep when you're dead, kind of thing. And this is how people used to think about sleep. But again, thankfully, due to science, we now understand a lot deeper and a lot more about what sleep is and what it really means to our longevity, our sanity, and our overall well-being.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I now appreciate the term 40 winks.
Yeah, literally, right?
And it was always older people that said it. So that's it. As I say, that's the way I'm thinking now. Do you remember when people said sleeping is for wimps?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. They're wrong. 100% wrong. So
I'm there's something I was doing some research, and that, as I do with many of the things, and so do you. And somebody was saying that not that long ago, and even now I think it's still quite prevalent, is that there was this bravado with people especially men that would claim that I only need 4 or 5 hours sleep a day. It was like a badge of honor that you only needed 4 to 5 hours of sleep a day until you didn't. Until you needed
I mean,
more.
I used to be like that.
Okay.
Up to a point, not ridiculously so, but I remember sort of finishing work at how many hours did we do? 22 hours one day in a police investigation, and then I went home and went to bed, and I was back very, very quickly. Actually, very refreshed. It's quite surprising. You can do that, but you can only do it once.
Oh yeah. You can't. Yeah.
You can cheat a little bit and get away with a little bit, but you can't do it day after day. That's the big key.
I did a study for myself when I was living in Dubai. I did a study, and I basically it started out that way, but it ended up that way just for my own benefit and to see how my body responded to lack of sleep over a period of time, and it was a long period of time as well. So I was only getting like maximum 6.5 hours sleep a night. Man, it had to have a negative impact on me, both mentally, psychologically, emotionally, physically. It had a huge impact on me and my health, to the point where I was on the brink of adrenal fatigue as a result of it. And there's many people out there that experience this day in and day out, but they and they get frustrated, they get anxious, they get they have panic attacks. They rustle around in bed back and forth, tossing and turning without doing anything about it. And then they feel tired, they feel groggy, and they kind of become used to that. It's like living with pain. You become accustomed to living with pain. Yeah. And this can happen for a period of time, and it's fine to a point. But then eventually what will happen is that the system will literally start to shut down, because you're not allowing, when you're not getting enough quality sleep. And even if it's 8 hours sleep, and I've discovered this for myself recently. I'm one of those people that I love sleep. I can easily sleep 8 hours, no issues. And I recently discovered that, I thought I'm getting 7-8 hours sleep a night, good, but I couldn't figure out why I was feeling groggy during the day. I just wasn't feeling clear, in my mind a lot. That clarity of having had full recovery. And I'll explain to you what that means. What a full recovery means, but I thought I was okay. It's just that something was wrong, something else was happening, until I discovered the power of a certain nutritional supplement that I now use every day. And when I started to use that, and I was getting proper sleep, proper sleep, quality sleep, then I really, wow, okay, now I see where I was going wrong in the past. And it's not necessarily that I was doing wrong. Maybe that's a wrong choice of words. But, I have sleep apnea. And, many people have sleep apnea. Many men in particular have sleep apnea where, your airway is blocked because your throat collapses, or your epiglottis collapses, and it wriggles in your throat when you're breathing, and your nasal passages close up. So these things kind of cause sleep apnea, where we end up snoring a lot and we're tossing and turning because we stop breathing for one reason or the other. And this is something that I have issues with. And I've asked my wife, I've asked Andrea to monitor my sleep now that I'm on this nutrition, on these supplements, to monitor my sleep, because I'm feeling so much better when I wake up in the morning. I really do feel much better. So I don't know if I'm still struggling with sleep apnea or not. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's a bit of a diversion there, but nevertheless.
Yeah, but it's all important. It's all about sleep. And I can imagine a female asking me to monitor her sleep. You've got no chance.
No, because Andrea used to get woken up by my snoring. You understand? So she would get woken up by me not sleeping properly. So I'm just curious to know. Maybe I should record myself. But I just want to just add something here quickly for those folks that have stayed with us thus far, and anybody else that jumps on from here and onwards. Stay to the end of this podcast, please, because I'm going to give you some really important tips and tools that you can take away with you today and help you to have a better night's sleep tonight. Okay.
Absolutely. So, what is the science of sleep? Now, what happens in throughout your time of sleep? I think that's important. What happens to your brain?
Mhm.
What happens to it?
So your brain will go through certain cycles of sleep patterns. So you have brain waves. We all have brain waves. We're functioning on brain waves all the time, whether that's beta in the awoken state, whether that's alpha when you are in that state. If you close your eyes while you're awake, give it enough time, especially if you roll your eyes back, you go into an alpha state. So it's a different frequency. But we are living on a day-to-day basis in beta. And very often, again, scientists thought that that's how we stay awake is in beta stage, but it's not necessarily the case. We can also be conscious and awake in an alpha state. And once you drop down to alpha, then you go down into sleep cycles with your non-REM or your REM stages. Your REM stage is your rapid eye movement where you are having your dream state. And that's when you're in theta, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You go down to theta, and then you basically in REM, you're in beta state again. So you're basically in an awake state, but you're sleeping. Historically speaking, what used to happen was, if you look back from the time millions of years ago when we were evolving, the night time was a very dangerous time around the planet. And at night, especially when we were in a new place or we were sleeping in a cave with our tribe, with our clan, it wasn't very secure. Half our brain would stay awake. And this is something else that I recently learned is that if you're moving from place to place, let's say you're moving on business, you're staying in different hotels on a regular basis, your brain will naturally go, half the brain will go to sleep, the other half of the brain will stay awake as a form of protection, of alertness, awareness. So you may be sleeping, but at the slightest noise, you are awake, you stirred, and you want to go, what's that? Because it's one of the ways your brain protects you. So it just shows how much activity is going on in your brain when you're actually sleeping. So not only is the brain active when we're in a beta or alpha state, but it's very much active when we're in theta and delta. Okay, so it's basically even in beta again, your rapid eye movement stage. That's when your brain is processing, you're dreaming things, and your brain is processing the information which has been put into been blasted at you throughout the day, and this is what's happening. These are the cycles. You have the circadian cycles where you go through dips and troughs and peaks. So this is what's happening when you're sleeping with your brain.
Yeah.
For in some cases, not happening.
Yeah. So the REM or the rapid eye movement sleep, and there's non-REM as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when you actually go through it's. Bear with me a second here. I just want to make sure I get the right term. For a momento, s'il vous plaît. It's just sleep spindles. All right. So that's when you're in non-REM stage. So you get two stages of non-REM. And this is basically so instead of your brain regenerating and recovering, where you're having your dreams, your body is doing that now. So you're in theta, okay, and in non-REM, you're in theta state. So it's a different frequency again. It's slowed down a lot more. And then this is where you do non-REM. So you go from stage 1 into stage 2, which is your sleep spindles. And then after that, you go to stage 3, which is also non-REM, and that's delta, okay? And then you go back into beta when you're in an awake state, but you're actually sleeping, and that's in your REM stage. So very often, if people drink a lot, for example, they drink every day, they often don't experience REM because the alcohol prevents that from happening, okay? So people feel knackered the next day. They may have got 7-8 hours sleep, but their body hasn't been able to expel enough of the toxins from the alcohol in the system, the kidneys and the liver and that, So only maybe that happens 6 hours into your sleep. And then for 2 hours, maybe you're getting like so much rapid eye movement going on that you have these lucid dreams where you start to like really weird dreams. So that's your brain cramming everything into one space, if you will, So you're kind of like building up all that energy and all that potential, and then you're only getting 2 hours of that REM. Because we need cycles of that. It can't just happen once a night. It needs to happen in cycles.
You have about 4 or 5 cycles a night generally.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, the first bit of it is between being awake and falling asleep. So it's that's the first part. The second part is light sleep. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to put it in sort of different terms. And that's when your heart rate and your breathing regulates and your body temperature drops. All right. So there's different things happen to you as you're going along. And then the third and fourth stages are deep sleep. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously you keep doing that throughout the night. You keep changing. And REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, was previously believed to be the most important sleep phase for learning and memory. But since, obviously, as scientists find out more, they now suggest that non-REM sleep is more important for these tasks and more restful and where you restore everything. So again, I'm sure some of these things will change again. Maybe a little bit, but that's how it should be. As we find out more, we need to know, what sleep does to us.
Just don't block yourself off from the possibility of understanding more. Don't think because you think you know something now about it that you disclose anything else that comes thereafter. This happens very often, right? You understand? It's like that nightcap. I mean, who cannot remember a grandparent that was advocating nightcaps for a good night's sleep? Having a nightcap,
get another scotch in.
But now you try to tell somebody that is accustomed to doing that doesn't help them.
No,
they're not going to listen to you.
You're right.
Yeah, they're not going to listen to you. So it's like the egg story. The egg white and the egg yolk. For so long, people thought that the egg yolk was the evil, but it's not really. It's not actually.
No, it's right. Right.
But very, very often when I speak to people, because they've been told for so long that it's not a good fat, it's not healthy for you, they just struggle to believe it.
Trust me, you need fat.
Well, you need good fats and bad fats, but you need more good fats than bad fats.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
a lot more.
So going back to sleep, as you cycle into REM sleep, that's when the eyes move rapidly. Is that right? Behind your closed eyelids.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
have you ever seen somebody's eyes fluttering before like that?
Yeah. Just before I wake them up. We've actually gone through front doors with sledgehammers, as the police and that, and they're still going to sleep. You couldn't sleep through the noise we made, but they did. So
they're probably so stoned that it wouldn't have made a difference. You could have dropped a bomb next to them; they would have slept.
Yeah. So that is why the police normally go in about 4 or 5 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
If you're doing a fast entry, all right, because people are just disorientated; they just don't know where they are.
Completely.
Yeah. So.
Complete. And this is something that I wanted to also touch on as well. Now, I'm sure you're going to bring it up at some point, but you just mentioned it now. So I want to, if I may, I want to just add about naps. Okay. And disorientation.
Yeah.
So unless you want to leave that till later, because something I think is important to touch on here, folks. For those of you that are watching this now or watch the recording, Paul and I, we don't pre-script. We know what we're going to talk about. And I'm bringing this up because two friends and colleagues of ours were doing a training for us last night, and they said the same thing. It just struck me, like I thought, when Paul and I first started this podcast, we never discussed whether we were going to talk about what we're going to talk about, or whether we're going to just have a title, a subject, and then just pitch up. Mm-hmm. And we ended up just doing that. We had a title, a subject to talk about, and we just pitched up. And it organically moved in the space in the way that where Paul will typically ask me the questions, and then I will give the best answers that I can based on my experience and my knowledge and background. So it's just, so when you touched on grogginess, it sprung to my mind that when we are napping at any time, any stage, and I'm trusting that there's one person in particular that's watching this now, and him and I have had this conversation recently about napping and the importance of napping, and I tell this to my clients as well. Don't think it's a bad thing to nap during the day. If you've got the 20 minutes or 30 minutes to have a nap, do it. You mentioned 40 winks earlier on.
Yeah,
40 winks is often too long, but not exclusive, not entirely.
Oh, there is actually a set time for 40 winks, is there? I just thought it was a snooze.
A snooze. Yeah, well, it's a 40-minute snooze, right? And a cat nap is like 10, 20 minutes because that's how long.
It depends how long your winks are.
So when you sleep for like 10 to 20 minutes, you're actually it's very beneficial for you to be able to wake up being alert.
Yeah.
So companies like Google and that they do this. They have sleep pods where you can go sleep for like 10 minutes, close your eyes for 10 minutes or so, and you wake up alert. It's only beneficial for you for maybe 2 to 3 hours if you've lacking sleep from the night before. So in other words, if you struggle to sleep, you're an insomniac or whatever the case may be, that 10 to 20 minute cat nap that you have will be beneficial for you for 2 to 3 hours. If you sleep for like 40 minutes to an hour, that's going to be more beneficial, going to be beneficial for you for a longer period of time, more sustained period of time, but you wake up feeling groggier. 40 minutes is the borderline, I reckon, because this is when your body.
You can't go any more than that.
Definitely. If you do, you're gonna wake up feeling, and then all you're gonna want to do is lay on the couch the whole day.
Sleep again.
Yeah.
Which is feels so bad. Yeah.
And this is another thing that I want to add to is when you have a nap or a cat nap or a 40 winks, if you can, do it on the couch. Why? Because again, it goes back to that part that when I mentioned about when you're sleeping in a new place, a new location, half your brain is awake, half your brain is asleep. All right. When you sleep on the couch, it's more of an alien location than in your bed. Okay. And your body and that just it collapses much faster. So your body and your brain will just go to sleep so much quicker than if you're on the couch, where you're doing that 20 minutes, so you're allowing the brain to process and to rest a little bit before the body goes into that deep slumber. All right. And me personally, and I've got my clients to experiment the same way. And I think for the most part, it's the same. If I do it on the couch or even on the floor, have a quick cat nap for 10, 20 minutes on the floor on the couch, I do feel better when I wake up than if I did it on the bed. When I do it on the bed, I just want to go back to sleep again, even after 20 minutes. So because it's just too comfortable, right?
Yeah. You say about naps. What I mentioned the other day about kids. When we were at primary school, I think they call it preschool now, but we used to have a drink of milk, and then they used to say, "Right, you all go have a little sleep now," and everyone was asleep. All the kids went to sleep. I remember that. And so it's obviously good for you.
Well, it is, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone was all the kids were asleep. Not because I saw it, but because I got told by the teachers.
So you weren't the one that was awake trying to keep everyone else awake.
No, definitely not. I was the first one asleep and the last one to wake up, I think. So, but bear in mind, these deeper states of sleep that you have, like stages 3 and 4, and you have 4 or 5 of them during the night. Each time it gets the deep sleep gets shorter. Okay. So no idea what that is, but they do. They get shorter. So yeah. So
I believe that's something to do with the fact that you should be sleeping 7 to 8 hours. We are, this is our makeup, we are designed. We've evolved to the point where our bodies need to sleep 7 to 8 as adults.
Yeah.
Adolescents, 10 hours. Okay. So I think what you're talking about, what that means is as the cycles get shorter, it's because the body is understanding, the brain is starting to comprehend, because it's all working at the same time, that your sleep is coming to an end soon.
Yeah.
So those cycles
you don't need as much deep sleep.
Yes.
No. But there are two main processes that regulate sleep. Okay, we've already mentioned one, or you did, which was the circadian rhythms. Mm-hmm. The other one is called sleep drive.
Sleep drive.
Sleep drive, yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So the circadian rhythms are controlled by the biological clock, mm-hmm. which are located in the brain. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the sleep drive is something completely different. One of the key functions is the clock responding to light cues.
Okay.
That's something more modern. The fact that you in theory, you're supposed to have blackout curtains, mm-hmm. no light whatsoever, because it helps. No blue light from televisions mm-hmm. or mobile phones or computers, right? So it all has to go off. Mm-hmm. And then, because what happens is that if there's any light there, things start kicking into place and ramping up the production of the hormone melatonin. Okay. But the problem is, if you've got blue light in the background, that function switches off, mm-hmm. which is not necessarily good for you. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why not to have light. Apart from the fact that it could wake you up.
And I think there's another hormone that's released. I think it's adenosine or something like that. It's similar to melatonin, so it works hand in hand with melatonin. So it's not just one; you're actually impacting two hormonal functions in your system by having those blue light shining through. I've got to figure out a way for our dog. Now that it's getting light earlier, she wakes up. Now she sleeps. We have her sleeping in the kitchen because we live in an apartment, so I don't have a garden. But we have her sleeping in the kitchen so that if she wakes up, she can't walk around the entire apartment and wake everyone up. All right. So we have her sleep in the kitchen, and I close off the kitchen, and I keep the blinds closed in the kitchen. However, somehow she just knows now. I think a little bit of light comes in, and she's awake by 5:30, and she's walking around the kitchen, and I can hear her.
You can hear the padding, the pads.
Well, her nails, her claws on the tiles in the kitchen. Because the rest of the apartment is like that faux pas wood, type of stuff. So when she walks on it, you can hear her. Yeah. And so we keep her in the kitchen so she's not coming around everywhere. But now I've got to figure out a way. Okay, how do I block out that light so she doesn't wake up at 5:30 in the morning? Yes, I don't mind, but right now, with no school, it's a pleasure being able to wake up maybe about half an hour later. With the fact that there's no schooling. So, but otherwise, normally I'm awake in any case.
Okay.
So Jay, we got a comment here quickly before we move on.
Oh, right, go on.
Yeah, Jason said, have to say removing use of media devices at least 2 hours before sleep has made a huge difference to my sleep quality, guys. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for that feedback. Thanks. Yeah, it will be definitely stopping that swiping.
So here's a fact for you. People with total blindness often have trouble sleeping because they're unable to detect and respond to the light cues.
Okay.
Never knew that until I started researching. So it's it's one thing. I mean, it's devastating to not be able to see. But then they get the second whammy of not being able to sleep properly because there's light. They've got no light cues.
There's no light cue. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's unbelievable, really.
So I mean, if you think about that, they probably have to have like. I mean, not adrenal. I mean, you don't have adrenal supplement or something like that, but they need to, it would be beneficial for them to do something to suppress the melatonin production on their bodies, because if all they're seeing is black all the time, then the melatonin surely would be producing more in the body. So that I'm sure would affect. I've never thought of it before, but it's a nice point to bring up, Paul.
Yeah. So sleep drive. Now, this sleep drive also plays a key role. Your body craves sleep, much like it hungers for food. Okay. Mm-hmm. And throughout the day, your desire for sleep builds. And when it reaches a certain point, what happens is you need to sleep. Now, my ex-girlfriend, Rosie, she just comes up in the middle of the day and she'll say, I need to go to sleep now.
Yeah.
Literally, she'll just go straight to sleep.
Yeah. I do the same thing. So yeah, I'll do the same thing when I'm at home. If I just sometimes, because this is the other thing which I've noticed since I've been using these particular supplements, nutritional supplements, is that before I would because one of the things that happens when you don't get enough sleep, enough quality sleep, and you're not having enough REM cycles, when you wake up, so one of the things that will happen is that you'll have this compacted version of dream states, okay, which is why you have people sometimes experience lucid and weird dreams, okay? Yeah. So it's kind of like compressing 3 movies into one. One of the other knock-on effects of not getting that enough is that when you are awake, you go into a state of delirium. You with me? Mm-hmm. So you can be fully conscious in a beta state, but you are becoming delirious in your comprehension because your body is trying to now force the dream state to happen if this goes on for a longer period of time. Are you with me still?
Yeah.
So the brain, because this is how important it is to the brain that we get to sleep and have dreams. Like, all right. And I ask my clients often, I ask Laura too, our daughter, what did you dream last night? Because it's important that we do dream, and we don't always remember our dreams. However, if you're not able to dream, the brain will force it to happen at one point eventually. It'll just say enough now. And you start to, I used to remember sitting sometimes and I used to feel like I was tripping, like I was walking and tripping.
Mm-hmm.
My whole body would go like this because it was like, I was about to pass out and my thinking was not clear. And then I would just say, I've got to sleep. And I would just go put my head down on the pillow and I'd sleep for 20 minutes or something like that. The same like Rosie. I get to a point sometimes where I've just got to sleep. And there's no two ways about it. When we were in the military, when I went to the military, the first they drive us to the base. The drive to the base was like 15 hours long. Okay, by bus. You couldn't sleep. You weren't allowed to sleep on the bus. Then we get to the base. And they kept us awake throughout the morning. We got there 3:00 in the morning. They kept us awake the whole morning. We just sat for about, I don't know how many hours. And then they kept us awake the whole day. So we go to our bases, we get our beds, we go get our uniforms, we get this, we go get that, we go get all our stuff. Then we go eat, and then they kept us awake the whole night. So basically, they kept us awake for approximately 23 hours nonstop. No, it was more than that. It was longer than that because the bus drive was 15 hours. So it was more than 2 days we were not allowed to sleep. And our first experience in the military. By the time we got to sleep, it was like we were so, what's the word that I'm looking, when you get a child that's petulant or we were just, all of us were like little brats. Because we couldn't function, we couldn't think clearly, we couldn't behave properly, our motor neuron functions were just shot through the roof. There's none of us were used to that. We all came out of high school and you go to the military and now all of a sudden you can't sleep for 2 days. So the brain is an amazing thing. You just got to look after it. You got to treat it right. And something that Jason commented on is the electronic devices. So, it's so important that we prepare our bodies, we prepare our brain before we go to sleep. We allow our system to shut down. And you touched on the the dark stimuli, the stimulus of darkness, the body will naturally start to slow down. And if you constantly if you have lights shining everywhere, and you've got TV screen or your computer screen or your laptops, your tablet or your phone, you've got all this blue light, all this stimuli going on around you, your body's not able to prepare you for sleep. And then you go to sleep and you wonder why you can't sleep, or you wonder why your sleep is restless, why it takes you 2 hours to fall asleep. And this is one of the primary reasons why we don't sleep properly, is because of electronic devices and the fact that we're not allowing our bodies enough time to settle into sleep before we go hit the sack.
Yeah. So it's it's a fascinating subject. I mean, look, there's a major difference between sleeping and hunger, because your body can't force you to eat, but because you're hungry, but it will force you when you get tired. It will force you to sleep.
Yep.
This is a classic for me, when I'm in a meeting and the heating's not right. And maybe they don't have any breaks, and I just go to sleep. I just can't help it. I go sleep in the cinema as well. Sometimes.
Okay, just to get away from it all, because that's dark. Although you got a big flashy screen in front of you.
So if you don't, So if you don't take care of things, you don't take care of yourself. I've had it a few times where you've fallen asleep behind the wheel of a car.
Oh yes.
The ones I'm talking about just momentarily like that, but it shows you're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's an indication. It's a warning. So if you ever have it happens to you, do something about it.
Yeah. Even if you're sitting at your desk and you feel that motion, that tripping sensation where you feel your head's just poof.
Yeah.
This is the same thing when you're driving. Then go sleep, man. Just close your eyes for 10 minutes. That's all you need to do.
Yeah. You can do it if you're at work and there's a computer in front of you. Just get up. You can get up and walk around. Go and get a breath of fresh air. Shut your eyes for a minute. But what I would suggest is, if you're going to shut your eyes for a minute, tell someone you're shutting your eyes for a minute.
Yeah.
Like in the place where you've got a supervisor.
If you're driving a car, especially if you're driving a car and you've got passengers.
Yeah. But if you're in an office, tell like we had sergeants and inspectors. Didn't see inspectors all, but sergeants. And I say, look, I've just got to shut my eyes for a few minutes. No problem. It wasn't a problem. But being in the army, it'd been a different problem altogether.
Oh, very different problem. We used to do that in lectures. We used to do that in lectures in the army. Yeah. So we would be so exhausted, but we would be writing in lectures, and our heads would be down, and we'd just be moving our pen, but we like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're just moving our hands. Yeah. So I was sleeping like this, and then afterwards we would go all and compare notes and see what we had written, because no one understood what was because we were all doing exactly the same thing.
Now, obviously when you're in the armed forces, it's a little bit different to being in the police. It is a disciplined service, but they're much harder. When you're in the army. And have you ever had this, when you're exhausted and your body's able to engage in micro sleep? Right? Okay. These are episodes of 1 or 2 seconds while your eyes are open.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I think that type of thing, when you want to go to sleep but you can't go to sleep. Yes. You're not allowed to, or something like that. And Also, we spoke about napping as well, and now it's very, very important. This sleep drive, you must have this sleep drive to be able to go to sleep. Okay. Now, if you have more than 30 minutes or 40 minutes on a nap, then what happens is you're decreasing your body's sleep drive. That's another reason why you can't sleep at night. It needs a sleep drive, So
if you're sleeping over 30 to 40 minutes, you're decreasing that sleep drive.
Yeah. Okay. You're taking away something.
Yeah.
And the body doesn't like it. So
yeah. So true. I can imagine that. Well, it's just, if you sleep, as I said, if you're sleeping 10 to 20 minutes, you're making up 2 to 3 hours. So that's enough.
Yeah.
You don't need to make up more than that. Just make sure you get to sleep properly.
a nap is you're just topping off your sleep, really. That's all you're doing, and it's fantastic if you do it right. So, all right, with that, I mean, we were going to talk about sleep, a bit more sleep, but I think we've covered that subject quite well. Is there anything else you can think of at all?
No, I don't think there's anything that's really relevant to cover unless you have something in mind, a question in mind. But I believe that we've covered what's important, and it's just takeaways. Just what people can actually do to make sure that they get a better night's sleep tonight.
Yeah, I mean, actually, there's probably 6 to 8 things you can do, and I'm not going to go through them now. But I'll leave you with these 2. Right, and I spoke to you about this the other day. Is pick a time when you go to bed every night. So let's say it's 9, 10, 11, whatever it is. Work out what time you want to get up in the morning. Make sure you have a sufficient sleep. Mm-hmm. Same time up. Same time go to bed. Same time wake up every day. Now I know because I used to be a shift worker, so it's a bit different. But generally speaking, if you can do that, you'll have a much better night's sleep.
Oh yeah, because your body gets used to that rhythm, right? It gets used to that set cycle, and it's the same like eating. If you're used to eating at certain times, your body will tell you when it's getting hungry, right? Because it gets used to knowing that it's going to have food. It's like that. It's the Pavlov thing. So if you just train your body that way, then of course you're going to have a huge benefit from it. What was the other one?
Oh, that's it. No, the time going to one, time getting up is the other. So they're the 2. All right.
Okay.
Very, very important.
There was a bit of a cheat there. There was kind of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. What's that all about?
Absolutely. Yeah. Time's precious. Right. And time is precious, and that's the reason why you need to.
I did promise that I was going to leave some tools that people can take away.
Yes, over to you to finish up.
All right. Now, it's been alluded to already in that if you can cut away all forms of electronic devices, at least an hour before you go to sleep. If you struggle with sleep, if you're like me, you don't struggle with sleep, then it's not necessarily an issue. But if you do struggle with sleep and it is a challenge for you, then one hour minimum before you go to sleep is take that out of the equation altogether. Replace it with something more healthy or healthier, which is you can do some stretching. Stretching is a great tool to do before you go to sleep, where you even on your bed. So you can be sitting on your bed doing some very light stretches. And if stretching appeals to you and you don't know what to do for stretching before you go to bed, then just shoot me a message, give us a message, and I'll be happy to share some insights on that for you as well. And this is something I do regularly. If I'm doing something in bed before going to sleep, maybe I'm watching something, I'll stretch as well because I'm preparing my body for going to sleep, even though I don't struggle to go to sleep. Another great tool is writing. Writing is if you write before you go to sleep or have a sleep journal. If you struggle to go to sleep, if you're one of these people that wake up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for no apparent reason, then write. Okay, this is something I recommended to a friend of mine to do the other day. Is write. So write before you go to sleep. Just put down a pencil, pen, piece of paper, and don't think about what you're going to write. Just write. Let it come out. Whatever's in, because many people when they struggle to sleep, they've got so much going on in their heads that they can't sleep because they've got so much going on. So just put it out into paper. Just whatever comes out of your head, don't think. Just let it. Just trust and just write whatever comes to mind and just put it out on the paper. Because once you do that, you're taking it from here and you're putting it onto paper and you're allowing that just to be released. So it's no more energy sitting up here. And then the last one is is meditation, folks. Meditation. If you can meditate before you go to bed, you will be amazed. If you just practice 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then slowly build it to maximum 20 minutes. You don't need to go more than 20 minutes of meditating at a time. If you build the habit of meditating before you go to bed at night, and with that, thinking positive thoughts as you go into a state of meditation. All right. So you're thinking about all the good things that have happened to you that day and what you want to see happen for you the next day. As you're going to sleep, you're meditating on that, and then you put your head down on the pillow. Oof, you sleep like a baby. At least a baby that doesn't wake up in the middle of the night. Yeah. Just some tips for you.
One thing that came out was just 2 words: brain dump. When you were talking about
brain dump. Oh yeah, writing. Yeah.
Brain dump. Just get it all out.
Yeah. Because people don't realize that that's energy, and condensed energy can become very stressful. Think about your body's the same thing. If you don't stretch frequently enough and you're exercising or you're playing a sport, but you're not stretching, you get a lot of condensed energy in your system, and that condensed energy is stiffness, tightness, compressions, these kind of things. So just bear that in mind. Your brain functions on energy, and let that energy out. Release that compression. Release that pressure valve and brain dump. Yeah.
Don't exercise close to when you're going to bed.
Don't do some vigorous form of exercise.
That's a classic one. You can't go to sleep. It's just
like a rabid dog. Because
Right, I think we're done here. So I'm going to say goodbye. And anything you want to say before we go, Warren?
Yes, message me if you want some details on some stretches that you can do. Just message us below on the post, wherever you see this on YouTube, Facebook. And to remind you folks out there that Paul and I, we work with people on helping to change people's lives. Not in the like woo-woo or sense or the loose sense of changing people's lives, but literally working with people, showing people, educating people, and allowing people. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. He said it was useful. Allowing people to own their own health. That's it. We allow people to own their own health and take control of their own health, and we show people how to do that. So, if that's something that has been on your mind or something that has been playing up in your life, and you need to do something about it, then now's the time to take action. It's 2021, baby. Time to take action.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's us done, and I would like to wish you a good weekend. And I don't know if you're allowed out. We're in lockdown in the UK still. We're coming out of it soon, but soon we'll be able to go out on a Friday night again. So
until they lock you down again. When summer comes around, watch, there'll be a new lockdown.
Be another strain. Right. Anyway,
have a beautiful weekend,
folks. See you soon.
Arrivederci.